Next up, we have Tyler Dawley. And let me grab my glasses here real quick. Tyler and I met years ago. He doesn't remember. He was kind of like Ye. I worked with his mom and dad over in the Red Bank Creek area of western Tehama County. He's a guy who's lived in one spot for his entire life. That spot is a Big Bluff Ranch, the family ranch since he was a kid, driving the ranch truck, looking through, not over the steering wheel. He's found purpose and passion in working within the land and the animals. Since 2000, he's been driving innovation on the ranch. Everything from the farmers markets to grass-fed beef, to Pasture Poultry, to direct marketing over the internet. Currently, Big Bluff Ranch is one of the largest producers of organic pasture-raised, no corn or soy chicken on the West Coast, now raising fourth generations of Dawleys on the ranch. Tyler knows more about raising chickens on pasture than the normal person should. Ask him what's going on and his answer is always the same. Just raising chickens and kids. Come on up, Tyler. I think that's on. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, so I wrote that little bio about my, oh, not loud. Got it. Okay. Yeah, so I wrote that bio about myself. I've been on some podcasts and they said, hey, I need a bio, so I wrote that. And hearing it out loud, jeez. So let's see here. Let's dive in. So Grandpa bought the ranch in 1960. We've been out there doing weird things pretty much since the early 80s when my dad ran into Alan Savory. And that has led us down some long and winding and interesting places in regenerative agriculture and direct marketing. And we ended up raising lots of chickens. So what I'm going to do here today is talk about chickens. Oh, that's probably a little better for you guys. Talk about chickens and see if I can't convince you to not do them. Okay? I guess I'm already done. I guess I can stop. But so here's the thing. People always know that chickens are like great for fertility. They're very fast to grow. Theoretically, they're easy to sell because everyone eats chicken. All that's roughly true, but you got to build a business around it, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. Is we got to figure out how to make a chicken business, because growing the chickens is actually pretty easy. You add feed, you add water, you have some chicken ready to go. But if you go out of business, then you're not on the ground taking care of it, which is the whole point of what we're trying to do. That would have been the wrong button. I killed it. Okay, so without going into the amusingly long backstory, which I'm happy to do if you corner me later, but we have been raising chickens for the past 15 years or so. That means we've sold well over 500,000 of these things, which is kind of an insane number when I was estimating it for this talk. That's a lot of chicken to raise on pasture. So this year alone, we're going to do about 40,000 head of chickens, about 1,000 head of turkeys. We have 2 full-time employees who are actually doing all the work while I get to play down here. In fact, they do all of the work all the time. But I've turned myself into an office flunky. It sucks. So we've sold chicken every way from farmer markets to direct-to-consumer online, and we are in some regional distributors, and we're also in some national distributors. So anyways, yeah, we make a silly amount of money doing this. It's never enough, of course, but theoretically, I know what I'm doing. But I killed it. Is this me or is this the machine? I was hitting the arrow. Is it? Oh, well. Okay. So theoretically, that makes it sound like I'm a big success, right? Lots of chickens, lots of revenue. Not so much, really. We've made lots and lots of mistakes. So I've heard some mention about, dead animals. Well, I know exactly how many dead chickens fit inside the front loader bucket of the tractor, right? I mean, it's a lot. And we've done that often enough that I know. But we're still here because basically we were too dumb to quit, that there were plenty of signs that this was a bad idea, we were failing at our business, because at the time we were just raising chickens, we weren't running a chicken business. But we stuck around, kind of through dumb luck, here we are, and the soil has benefited from what we've done, and I'm gonna run through some of my lessons for you guys so you don't have to do all the stuff that I did. So I'm gonna push the arrow and I will kill it. Magic. Maybe I should push the other button. I'll go backwards. There we go. Okay, so here's the deal. Raising chickens, like I said, is easy. Selling chickens, making a chicken business, that's the hard part. And I know everyone else kind of before me has talked about the really fun stuff of the soil health, the animals on the land, taking care of the land, which is awesome. I'm 100% behind that. That's what I care about as well. But I also like being able to pay bills. And that if you don't kind of start off from the get-go thinking about how this is going to be a business, it's not going to work out. Many years ago, Edible Shasta Butte started up here in the North State, which is a little magazine about foodies around here, and I wrote a column in it in first or second year it was out. Came across this thing because you save everything, and I was flipping through it, and there was probably 10 mentions of little mom and pop businesses in our neck of the woods in the article. And I was like, oh, wait a second, these have all gone out of business. And so I don't know if you've noticed it in your area, but you go to your farmer's market and every 3 to 4 years a new person crops up. They stick around for a couple years and then they do something a little different, then all of a sudden they go away. Well, I don't know any of their individual stories, but my interpretation is that they started from a passion of taking care of an animal, taking care of the land, caring about the product, and that's what led them forward. And they never backstopped that passion with the numbers and the business. And you're just not going to get anywhere with that. So, my pointer. So, when we are going to think about creating a chicken business so we can take care of our soil, we have to remember kind of 3 big things. Who's going to buy them? How are you going to process them? And then kind of your poultry context, which is all of the supporting stuff. So the nice thing about ruminants is basically the rain comes in the sky and the grass comes from the soil. And I realize there's a lot more, but that's basically it. You're not bringing in a lot of outside inputs for ruminants. With poultry, you're bringing in basically everything. So you need to have a very clear vision of your supply network that you can access. And so anyways, the important things, do you think like, oh, what size chicken tractor? How many times a day should I move them? Not important. And hopefully I'll prove to you why that is the case. So the first thing you kind of got to think about when you're thinking about chickens is there's no open market. So one of the nice things about ruminants or even pigs is that you can just be like, you know what, this is a bad idea. I'm getting my trailer and I'm out of these animals tomorrow and my headache is over. You do not have that emergency exit with chickens. There's no live market with chickens. So, I mean, technically there is, but you can take like 5 head at a time to a flea market and have some weird ethnic guy try and bargain you down. So what happened to me, so I skipped over some of the backstory, but right now we are mostly wholesale, or I grow on contract for people. There is Big Bluff chicken out there in the world, but for the most part, someone else is selling it. There was one time I had this contract, and this guy bailed on me, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'm not going to actually honor the contract, but I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm going to leave you with 900 red broilers, and they're all yours. So I realize I'm leaving you high and dry, but I'm making it right by leaving you all these live birds." I'm like, What do I do with 900 red broilers? I still got to feed them. I gotta deal with them. So I hunted around and I actually did find there's a live animal market in Escalon. Some of you small ruminant people have probably taken animals there to sell them. So they have this little back corner where they sell poultry. And I never saw this place firsthand. I just called them up and was like, oh, and looked at the market report, like, oh, $4 a head or something like that. Oh, this is great. So I load up the back of the pickup truck with, I don't know, I think maybe 300 head, 200 head, something like that. I show up and I flooded the market. I had in my back of my pickup truck, I had more birds in that pickup truck bed than were in the entire market otherwise. Anyways, crashed the market. So the $4 a head I thought I was going to get, I think I got $1.25. Anyways, point of the story is don't expect that you are going to be able to just get out of chickens, that you can't sell a live chicken. These are meat birds, by the way. If you're selling layers, especially right now, you can probably get away with it. But that means if you want to raise meat birds, you are in the business of selling chicken meat, not chickens, live chickens. And that opens up a whole can of worms here. So you're going to have to become basically a direct marketer. You will have to find a market for your chicken meat. Now that could be selling to like a distributor like I do, where you don't actually have to sell, but to get into the distributor, you'll have to sell yourself to them. So you've got some work ahead of you there. And if you're not thinking about that, if you're not planning for that ahead of time, you are going to be scrambling because those birds go from the day-old chick to I have meat in the freezer in 8 weeks. And if you don't have that figured out well beforehand, I can't tell you how fast these things happen in the chicken world. After, doing grass-fed beef where you have like 2 years, 2.5 years to kind of like, well, what's going to happen? It's like, nah, this chick is on the ground. 2 months from now, I have to sell it or I'm losing money. Okay, so theoretically, somehow you have figured out who's going to buy your chicken. You're going to do direct-to-consumer through farmers markets. You're going to do e-commerce. You're going to find someone else to sell it, restaurants, whatever. You have realized that you're selling meat and figured out someone who's going to buy the meat from you. The next step is processing. So grass-fed meat, people in here will know about the joys of finding processors and working with processors. And I just got to tell you that your grass-fed beef processing situation is about 10 times better than the chicken processing situation. Skipped ahead of my story. I should go back. I should be reading my own slides here. So when you're processing chickens, you have basically two options. You have, the USDA has a limit at 20,000 birds. Under 20,000 birds a year, they kick it down to the state. Each state has its own set of regulations, but most states have some version of, just don't kill anyone. It's a very, very loose interpretation of the regulations, but that is an option. You can process on farm. I bet you'll do that a couple times, and then you realize that processing chickens is both hard work, smells bad, and no one wants to help you do it. So you can do it. There are definitely operations that make a living as processing and selling exempt chickens, but realistically, we're playing with realism here. You're going to have to be USDA inspected, and that you could possibly open up your own plant. You're not going to, so that means you need to find a custom processor. And this is where I was trying to get to the point about the beef guys. That beef processors have the option of, I don't know, call it 10. I might be optimistic, but 10 processors in California. In California for chicken, you have 2 in Northern California, and 1 I've heard rumors of in LA. So all of California, you have 3 chicken processing options. So even though now we've figured out who's going to buy them, now you have to figure out how you get into a processor. And the processors, as little as a beef processing plant really cares about you, they're already booked for business for years in advance. The chicken processors care even less about talking to you. They're like, we just don't need your business. Go away. So they have high minimums. They have high prices. it's all a navigable situation. You just need to know this going in. You need to do lots of groundwork. Yeah, and then also chickens don't travel very far. That worst comes to worst, you have your beef and you can't find anyone in California. You could go up to Idaho or up to Oregon or Washington. Not great, but it's doable. That doesn't happen with chickens. You've got about 6 hours max that you can haul your chickens to the processor. So I'll get to it in a sec, but just to give you a preview for the next slide, chicken production is very geographically centered, that there are a lot of moving pieces. Your feed is coming to you, you're driving your chickens to the processor, that if you don't have the pieces to your puzzle nearby, it's not going to work out. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've got all these little pictures over here of what we're actually doing. This is the fun stuff you wish I was actually talking about. So I'm just teasing you with the pictures and some captions down here and then not talking about it at all. So you can talk to me later about it if you have any questions, but I just figured plain old boring text would be boring. Okay, so now we can sort of talk about growing them, but I'm actually not. We're not going to talk about growing them. We're going to talk about the context, kind of like what I just talked about, that we need all of the bits and pieces of our puzzle to be nearby. So, oh yeah, that is a good slide. I'll talk about that real quick. This is how we move our hoops. We do a day range system, so all of our chickens live in one spot for their entire life. Then we pick up all of their infrastructure and move it. So that's a 6,000-pound rough terrain forklift, four-wheel drive, pick it up, move the stuff around, wash it, set it up back down. It's a system that's worked really well for us. It's not what everyone does, but we like it. So your biggest input to your chicken operation is going to be your feed. You're going to spend so much money on feed. Our feed bill is well over 6 figures a year. It's staggeringly large. And that chicken feed goes stale, just like when you buy bread at the bakery, or if you're a hardcore coffee person, which I am not, but apparently as soon as you grind your coffee, it starts oxidizing and you want your freshly ground coffee, not your Folgers. Same thing with your chicken feed. So if you're scaling your chicken operation to work buying chicken feed in bags from Tractor Supply, you're getting months-old feed that is oxidized, not high quality at all. You need to buy from a feed mill, and that if you're buying from a feed mill, at least the feed mill I buy from, and most ones that I know, you're getting 3 tons at a time, and that you have about 30 days to feed that out. So kind of you need to be, if you're trying to do this kind of at a decent scale or decent process, the scale you need to start off with or achieve pretty quickly is some version of birds that can eat 3 tons in 30 days. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but that's probably like 1,000 meat birds, something like that. Hatcheries are super important. That chicks have a surprisingly large contribution to both the grow out of the bird and your final price. So you want a hatchery that's close and cheap, but also high quality, which is a very hard thing to find. If you can't find yourself a good, consistent hatchery, probably another reason to kind of not do chickens. Oh, right, yeah. And who's going to do all the work? It's not your kids. I tried that. They don't do the work. Oh yeah, and then the conclusion is chickens are actually pretty easy. You add feed, you add water, 6 to 8 weeks later, you got a chicken. So nuances there, lots of nuances, but ultimately, fundamentally, growing chickens is pretty easy. We don't have, so the ruminants are nice because you don't have to worry about all these inputs, but ruminant production is pretty nuanced, and when you move the animals, your stocking density, your recovery rates, those apply to chicken production on pasture, but a much lower intensity, much lower. You don't have to pay as much attention to it because It's the wrong way of thinking about it, but you can paper over those mistakes by bringing in outside feed. You're like, oh, I overgrazed a little bit. I don't have any feed left. I'll just buy an extra ton of feed, right? It's not the greatest way to do it, but it's a doable way of doing it when you have mistakes, which I have never done. You're okay by just buying in more feed and surviving. Okay, well, when I was writing this thing last night at 10 o'clock, I felt like I was going to take a lot longer to get 10 minutes. I am going fast. Oh, or slow. No, I'm going slow. Okay, cool. We got to speed up. There's some good stuff. You're going to be bored. I'm excited about it. Anyways, we've laid out some fundamentals of our business. We know who we're selling to. We have an avatar. We have a person that we're selling to. We know how they want the chicken. They want it as meat. They want it USDA inspected. Maybe they want it in cases. Maybe they want it cut wrap. Who knows? And then we figure out, can we do it? Do we have a supply chain that we can access that allows us to create this enterprise? This is all good. This is all foundational. You have to do these. If you don't know these answers, don't get a chicken. But if for some reason you think this answer is yes, we need more because you haven't really figured out your business. And this is I could talk about this for an hour. And I was really almost made this entire presentation about this spreadsheet. So you're lucky. You're lucky. So, first, real quick, there's no CPAs out here, no financial CFO type people. Excellent. Then I'm going to sound halfway smart. Okay. This is essentially an enterprise analysis. We are just looking at the profitability of our chickens and that, yeah. Well, I don't have enough time to make you guess. I got to keep moving on. The answer is, what is wrong with this one? This number, these numbers out here, these are the end result of this equation. We are all producers. I made this and I still do it and I know I'm wrong. I went, what are my inputs? What are my production? How much do I cost? What do I think I can sell it for? And oh gee, did I make any money at the end of it? This is wrong. You are running through this the wrong way. So, and there's no land or labor in this because it's enterprise analysis. A smart person tell me to do it this way, so I'm telling you what the smart person told me. Leave it out for now. This is what it should be. You should be saying, hey, whoa. Oh, geez. There, that one. This is the one we want. We need to be starting off with, well, I just don't have enough time anymore, people, sorry. But this is who I am. This is who I am as a person, who this enterprise needs, what this enterprise needs to be to create the life I want to live. This number is telling me if I'm actually going to be able to achieve that goal. And these are the numbers you need to work backwards for. So first you need to say, hey, I need, pick a number, $100,000 to support me in my lifestyle. I know that to be a good functioning business, the number for a gross margin is 50%. That means that gross margin is all of my inputs divided by all of my sales. It needs to be 50%. Why is it 50%? A smart person told me, believe him. Then this number is super important. Your sales. Remember how we figured out who's going to buy from us? Now we need to figure out not only how they're going to buy from us, but how much they're willing to pay us. And this number, without getting too philosophical about it, this is the connection between what we believe in and what transformation we produce in our customer. And this number is the quantitative analysis of what the two of us have decided. That's crazy, but that's a super important number. You build your entire business around that number. That is talking about who you are as a person, who you believe in as an enterprise, finding a person, finding an avatar on the other side, finding what they believe in, and exchanging value. So that number is just a number in the spreadsheet, but this is hugely important when you're creating a business. And we want to create a business because we want to keep doing this for years because we want the chickens on the ground to take care of the ground because that's why we're here. Then we figure out our costs. Then we have all of our inputs. Let's see, so little time. Anyways, I haven't been talking that long, but here's another pretty little picture interlude for you. So this is us making some compost out of our chicken litter. So real quick, let's just say you want to start off as a first-year producer of chickens. This is what this spreadsheet is showing you. I'm saying 1,000 birds, you have to have a 50% margin. Haven't talked about it. This stuff is important. You're going to have a 25% death loss, 3.5 pound carcass weight, feed conversion, which is the most important number, which I haven't talked about because I don't talk too much. Raising chickens. That's how many pounds of feed to how many pounds of chicken. That is the number for raising chickens. That's the number you care about. All of your input costs, this is for an organic operation, so you're going to spend $1,000 of feed, blah, 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 blah. So look, you're a smart person. You're like, I'm 1,000 birds, 50% margin. That's my cost because of how well I can produce. That means I have to sell for $10.74 a pound. 5 minutes, people. Okay, $40 a bird. I'm rounding up. Can you sell 1,000 birds at $40 a head? And even if you can, I made $1,800 or $18,000. Is it worth my life to do that? Let's see. Then say you say yes to all that, and somehow you magically figure out how to sell a $40 bird. I would like to know if you figured that out. Then you're like, oh, hey, I want to be a professional chicken raiser. That's theoretically what I am. Anyways, you can, these are just talk too much about the other stuff. This is the important part, people, and I totally skipped it. I'm giving you the short change here, sorry. So I got a lot better as a professional at my death loss. My carcass went up. My feed and conversion went down. I have access to cheaper feed and chicks. All very important. I now have a much smaller break-even price. It's not break-even, it's profit. But anyways, 30,000 birds. I can theoretically make $400,000 a year gross profit. But I'm still selling a $30 a bird. You're like, oh, that's cool, that's really expensive. I see that feed is super expensive. Let's move it down to conventional feed. Conventional feed only saves you about $300 a ton. It does mean something, moves you down to a $25 bird, but still expensive. That's the biggest thing about pasture poultry. They're expensive. And there's a whole story about why chicken actually should be expensive. Biologically appropriate, that is expensive. We are not raising chickens biologically appropriately, ecologically appropriately. Not enough time. Wrapping it up. I'm probably going to run out of time anyways, but here we go. Pasture poultry has to be a business. It is very, very valuable in your soil health context, but that if you are not treating that as an enterprise, as a business on its own, it will drag you down. Because remember, there's no live market. You can't sell them for something. You can't even give them away, right? So you have to be selling them somehow. Let's see. And then I got my last slide. Right. Healthy soils come from healthy businesses. I guess that really kind of sums up what I was trying to convey to you guys, is that chickens are great. You can get that feed conversion ratio is another way of looking at that. If we get 4 pounds of feed to 1 pound of chicken, where's that other 3 pounds go? That's chicken manure. What is chicken manure otherwise known as? Fertilizer. So, I don't know that I have it on any of my slides, but if you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on tons and tons of feed a year, you get a lot of fertilizer. It's cool stuff. But if you can't sell that chicken, you're not making any headways. So, sorry, I kind of messed up my timing there. We should have talked a lot more about the spreadsheets, but we survived. You survived. Good job. And I think I even ended ahead of time. I have 1 minute. Whoa, 1 minute. Do I have anything to say? I don't know. I probably do. Anyone have a 1 minute question for me? Better go quick. No. Why would I sell it to you? I worked way too hard to get that stuff. Hydrate it? Not really. I know the question you're asking, and the answer is no. We don't ferment. I mean, we're doing thousands of birds. The fermenting feed just is not a commercially viable thing. Okay. Anyways, now am I done? Where's the big hook? Yank me off the stage.
You're good. Thank you, Tyler.
Oh, yeah.